talk about the Maori. Well, I might talk about the Maori Party as part of the conversation I've been looking forward to more than any other in the wake of the election on Saturday night. His analysis on Friday engaged so many of you and got plaudits from so many of you. And I thought we'd got to have him back. And I really enjoyed it too. It gave me some perspectives and some things to think about that I hadn't considered before. He is, of course, Chris Trotter, a good old lefty, now a New Zealand First supporter. Andy, I just wonder how he's feeling this morning. Chris, you're back to winner. He's back.
Well, I must say, early on Saturday night, I was thinking close but no cigar, Mr. Trotter. But no, the numbers have consolidated in a way which makes me believe that Winston will be part of the picture over the next 3 years. So that at least was gratifying. But as you say, Sean, I'm an old lefty, and I never like to see the left crash and burn. It's an ugly
they did,
sight.
There's no, as I said, they got hit with a bed leg politically on Saturday night.
Several times, I have to say, several times. I mean, I'm in Mount Roskill, and it fell.
Mm. What do you think? Do you think they'll hold on to Mount Albert?
Oh, look, I don't know. In the olden days, when I had my ear to the ground to a much greater extent, I might have been able to answer that question, Sean. Yeah. But, I mean, the fact that we even asked the question...
It's almost, Chris, it's almost like a mirror image.
For God's sake.
It's almost like a mirror image of that last election where safe blue rural provincial seats flipped. Now we're considered, particularly out in Auckland and out west, safe red seats have flipped blue. So in many ways, we've got to look at how out of step that last election was, and that, you know, this election was going to have a factor of correction in it, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I know what you mean. I look back through our post-war history, and two elections emerge, 1975 and 1990. And they're similar in some respects, but very different in others. In 1975, that extraordinary comeback was led by Rob Muldoon, who carved those votes out of the New Zealand electorate with ruthless efficiency. And that victory on election night in 1975 was his victory. It wasn't so much Labour's loss as his win.
Yeah.
In 1990, which I think is the much more useful comparison, it was a country which was punishing Labour, punishing it viciously for what had happened in the 6 previous years. What we saw, and in many ways, of course, you're right, there is that sense of a mirror image to this, with so many safe Labour seats falling, just as a number of safe national seats fell 3 years ago. But perhaps a bit like Muldoon's victory in 75, Jacinda's victory in 2020 was, to a large extent, of her own making. I call it the thank you Jacinda election. And it was anomalous. And people looked very generously over the policy failures of 17 to 20. But those policy failures were not overlooked. Maurice Williamson is absolutely correct in that respect. And there was no thank you to anybody in the Labour Party in the minds of a great many voters on Saturday and in the 2 weeks previous. This was a punishing election as well. And if Labour doesn't understand that, then I fear for its future, because if people have come to hate you that much, you are obliged to discover why. or you'll never, ever rectify the deficiencies that caused them to hate you. And hate is not too strong a word.
No, I would agree. It's not one I normally like using in this context, but I think there was something visceral about reaction. Yeah. Chris, another area that I looked at, and with some amazement, the Maori Party's inroads in the Maori seats are remarkable. And what I would have called an overall assumption that Labour are the preeminent party of the Maori electorates, that's been washed away.
Yes, it has, and the Maori electorates are a very special case, of course. To win in the Maori electorates, you don't need anything like as many votes. But what we're seeing there is something which should send a cold shiver down Labour's spine, because what has been activated in those electorates, and if the Maori Party continues to gather momentum, particularly among the young, then Labour's ability to reach out and gather those Maori votes in and think of them as part and parcel of their overall electoral package, just as Pacifica votes from South Auckland are counted in that way, their ability to do that will begin to fade, because what we saw, particularly in the seat that was taken from Nanaia Mahuta, an astonishing result, almost as astonishing as the fall of the Tirakatani dynasty in Te Taitona, was just this absolute determination among young, politically active Maori to just keep driving forward. And Labour's problem is that it's got very few places left to grow. Not to go, but to grow, G-R-O-W. And that is really serious for the party, because you look at the other astonishing achievement was the winning of those 2 Wellington seats
by the Greens.
For the Wellington Central, and most particularly, and full credit to Julianne Genter, taking
that's where I live. She's my MP.